Luz announces that it's coming, so Elma swiftly uses Shield Bash and knocks the enemy back before Luz charges forward and attacks as well, declaring that she can do this. An embryo rises up and suddenly revives all the statues, shocking Luz, who sees that they keep coming back. Elma says it's meaningless to engage with the Tin Knights, so if it comes to a battle of endurance, they will lose, so they need to take down the embryo. Luz asks if he has a plan, so Elma says they can roll a 6 on the dice thrust, and he needs her to pull off that 1/6 chance. The embryo has a defense of 88 when it closes its eyelids, whereas a critical hit with dice thrust, which could even pierce through the golden rana, should be able to do significant damage on the embryo. Luz asks how she's supposed to reach that eyelid high up, but realizes she can use acrobatic steps. However, Elma points out that if she does that, she'll just get hit by the embryo's south cutter. He says he'll try to close the distance, so she should stay behind and follow him. If they manage to get close, he'll use Shield Bash to throw her directly to it, but there's way too much risk involved, so if they fail, both of them might die. Luz agrees and declares that she'll definitely roll a 6, so they charge forward and Elma uses Shield Bash to send Luz towards the embryo, remarking that all that's left is to pray to the goddess of fortune now, but the probability should stack as they only have one chance. However, as Luz strikes, she unexpectedly gets a 4 and misses, shocking them both, seeing which the embryo starts cackling. Elma admits they're now fresh out of plans since this didn't even work. He admits they shouldn't have gambled their lives on this and questions how they're supposed to get out of this like a nerd cornered by bullies. However, he decides to not just give up so easily and inwardly says he'll have to pull the Tin Knights away so Luz can at least land safely. However, he surprisingly sees that Luz uses acrobatic steps and rushes towards the embryo again, declaring that it really is their last chance this time. She manages to land a 6 and stabs through the embryo, making all their enemies collapse. She lands down and levels up to level 31 while Elma rises to level 41. He sees that it looks like he miscalculated. He could do nothing more than pray to her good luck, but even when she's forsaken by her great luck, she managed to take the victory all by herself. He gratefully thanks Luz since he would have died without her, so she cheerily says she also feels that she's gained a bit of confidence during this expedition, and even though she was told she had a useless class, she got a lot of good items in her dice thrust. However, Elma smilingly says that's because it's her, remarking that Luz is kind and brave and able to show abilities beyond that of just strength, so he doesn't think he'll find a more remarkable ally than her. She cheerily sees she got a tin sword, so Elma asks her to check if a bow dropped here as well. However, instead she finds a skill book, shocking him. He quickly hides it since people would kill to have this skill book, and says they'll be teleported back to the entrance since the boss is defeated. He also adds that the rewards they got total to more than 60 million gold, hearing which Luz collapses in shock. Klein annoyingly mutters that their efficiency really drops off even with just the two of them and says their luck is really bad, but Reese points out that it was just Luz's great fortune working before and asks if they should just call her back, but he declares that he's not lowering his head even if it costs him his life. They see a crowd gathered at the guild since a newly promoted E and F rank apparently beat the Angel's toy box recommended for at least level 50. They're shocked to see that it's Elma and Luz, as Elma explains that they were just attacked by the Wandering Lord of Dreams. The receptionist says they'll have to confirm the situation since the city has set up conquest rewards for it. Elma is surprised since he didn't expect there to be one and asks how much it is, so she reveals that it's 10 million gold, shocking Clang. He wonders if they got some rare loot since they're not even flinching upon hearing of 10 million gold. The receptionist states that Luz will be upgraded to a D-rank adventurer, now seeing which Klein hurriedly gets down on his feet and requests Luz to rejoin their party, offering to split the money from the bloodstained sword 3 ways. However, they ignore him and walk out. They head to a restaurant. Elma decides to just relax for now. Elma decides to talk about the rewards and says they'll get 57 million after all the deductions, so with the 80-20 split, Luz will get 46 million while he gets 11 million. Shocked, Luz questions how she could do that. She says she can't thank him enough for raising her level so high and asks if he would be able to accept this if he was in her shoes. He nervously admits he thought that was the appropriate standard. Bro was about to get ripped off by an actual clown. Eleanor remarks that they didn't reach an agreement on how to split the money, and in order to properly sell their items, they ended up visiting the Broken Magic Library. The woman menacingly sees that they came back and asks Luz if she's Elma's party member. She says Luz looks like a good kid and asks if he's planning on making her learn that skill tree, but Elma declares that it's for him. He says he wants her to assess a couple of times for him. She's surprised to see 2 golden Rana swords and says she would have given him a warmer welcome if she knew he had something like this. Elma says he's selling these for 30 million, and if she wants to haggle for it, he'll look for another store. The woman says demanding 30 million from alleged store is a tough sell, so he should avoid needless risks and part with these items for a lower price. She offers 25 million, frustrating Elma. Luce admits she makes a good point, but Elma tells her to not get roped in, remarking that if they get swept up in her pace, they'll end up underselling their items. He decides to hold on to these until a good opportunity arises and says he has some magic stones he wants her to convert. The woman is stunned to see that he was able to get his hands on a skill book in such a short time. She offers 14 million since the guild would probably buy it for no more than 7 million. However, Elma reminds her that he can find lots of guys who want an intermediate magic skill book and tells her to buy it for 22 million if she really wants to show some good faith like a creepy merchant. As she and Elma start arguing, Luce suggests that they can trade the skill book and all the items here for the item Elma wants, the smoldering fang of madness, since it's worth that much. Bowen agrees, but Elma tries to resist since that means Luce won't get her cut. However, she tells him to think of this as a thank you gift from her and hits it off with the woman, puzzling Elma. Maris enters a prison cell with 3 men and kills them all before a man hurriedly stops her, saying the light shifting has ended. Meanwhile, Aziz angrily questions if it's true that Elma has been doing as he pleases in Rondom City and declares that it's obvious he used the family name as leverage with the guild folks. He orders for the guild to expel him and forbid him from any re-entry. Maris enters and apologizes for the intrusion, but he tells her to drop the formalities since she's the next head of this house and his successor, so she can call him father. She says she feels he's being too soft on Elma and suggests that they both go observe him directly and pass on judgment. Meanwhile, Elma regrets buying the smoldering fang of madness since he hasn't given Luce her cut yet, but she assures him it's fine. He obtains the fang and suggests that they upgrade their pieces of equipment now. However, Aziz unexpectedly enters the guild room and orders for everyone to leave because he has an important matter to discuss. As Luce and Elma start leaving, she mutters that she never had a good impression on the Edvin noble family. Aziz suddenly stops them, so she hurriedly tries to explain herself, but Elma slowly assures her it's fine since Aziz most likely has business with him. Elma asks Luce to give him a moment with Maris and Aziz. She says she can't leave him when he looks so troubled, so Aziz angrily orders her to leave at once. Maris suggests they should leave her since she looks like she's close to Elma. Aziz angrily tells the guild leader to find the traitor who is helping Elma under the name of Count Edven. Luce is shocked to learn that Elma is the son of Aziz, and he reluctantly affirms it, muttering that that's true even though he doesn't want to admit it. Elma wearily says he's not been using the name of the Edven family. Maris tells Aziz they shouldn't act so hastily and proposes to Elma that they have a duel since he's level 41 and she's 45. Elma agrees, but only on the condition that if they recognize his strength, they're going to stay the hell out of his life after this. Maris says she's happy it has to be this way, and they both face off against each other. Luce hurriedly tells Elma he's being reckless, but Elma mutters that they haven't had practice since they were kids, and he honestly didn't think she'd hate him this much. Maris rushes forward, but Elma swipes her away, seeing which she says she's relieved that she can have some fun because this is the last time he, the man who she admired so much, and her will play with each other. That sounds very weird. Maris rushes forward and decides to hold back, so Elma quickly brings up the shield. Luce is stunned to see that he's being pushed back. As Elma's HP drops to 61, Aziz wonders if Maris is just playing around with him. Maris is about to mock him, but he suddenly attacks her with Vital Blow. Stunned, Aziz wonders if she was just careless since the difference between a sword saint and a heavy knight is like the sky and the ground. Elma remarks that a heavy knight's attack power is small, but that should have worked a bit right now. Thanks to the speed boost from the title, he was able to finally get a hit in, but tricks like this work only once. Maris laughingly says it's fun that he's still hanging up since she was worried this time of theirs would end so quickly. She decides to show him a skill of a sword saint and uses Vagra Barrage. She suddenly disappears, shocking Luce. Maris suddenly reappears in front of Elma and stabs his shield, pushing him back. Maris relentlessly continues attacking as Elma remarks that he managed to live through it. However, Maris suddenly starts attacking again, declaring that this is another one, shocking Elma. Luce worryingly says this is just too one-sided. Elma slowly braces himself, seeing which Maris sees that she can't break his back if he puts his all into defending. However, Elma sits down, seeing which Maris laughingly says he doesn't seem to be holding up much at all. She asks if she should just end this now, so Luce hurriedly asks her to just stop already since Elma's already at his limit. However, Elma declares that there were 3 objectives in this fight for him. First, seeing her skill with his own eyes. Second, a definite opening that she will have. And lastly, getting his health below 40%. Maris tells him to not go and think that bluff is going to scare her. However, Elma declares that her current level and her ability score is all according to his calculations, remarking that he can finally spend his skill points onto the smoldering fang of madness. Luz helped him get it just in time. She inspired him to stay calm whilst fighting, even though sure she was afraid to speak up against the Count, which is why he will win this fight. The half-dead Savage Dragon only activates when its user is below 20% HP. One simple blunder while trying to activate this thing could result in death before even meeting the condition, but Heavy Knights have a skill to overcome this fatal downside. Elma uses Life Shield, seeing which Isis mutters that he seems to be getting desperate, throws getting his butt kicked. However, Elma declares that he will finish this in one fell swoop and uses the half-dead Savage Dragon, announcing that he will show her the true power of the Heavy Knight class. Maris sees that he's activated some kind of skill, but tells him to not think that would let him face her. Elma rushes forward, shocking Maris, who hurriedly blocks, remarking that his speed and that power is nearly at the level of a sword saint like herself. Elma inwardly says he overturned his disadvantage in terms of stats with this. Maris laughingly says he really is interesting since he keeps her entertained to no end. She asks if he knows the tale of the wax-winged angel. Elma recalls that it is the story of an angel born wingless, who was cast down to earth. She kept dreaming about her birthplace, so she made wings out of wax and took flight into the sky, but the wax melted due to the sun's heat, which caused her to fall down and die. Maris says her just dying like that is her favorite part of the story. She loves seeing people put up a struggle beyond their capabilities and despite all their effort, breaking in the end, so if that person is Elma, who she's always admired, then it's even better. Elma parries her attack and declares that that won't happen. Maris says the parry skill that he's so proud of is just an inferior version of her skill. She barely manages to dodge again, but sees that he delayed his strike. She frustratingly asks why she's constantly defending, so Elma points out that she wasn't able to corner him before. As Maris desperately tries to attack him, Elma's shield bashes her into the wall. Surprised, Luz happily hugs Elma, saying she's glad he's fine. Isis watches in shock and questions how Maris was defeated, so Elma asks if he acknowledges him now. Isis begrudgingly acknowledges that Elma has the skill, picks up Maris, and slowly leaves the guild with her. Elma remembers how Isis told him that they must not mingle with commoners to retain their dignity to protect both their people and their land. Presently, Elma remarks that he doesn't respect him, but those words left an impression on him. Elma bows and thanks Isis for raising him all these years. Seeing this, Luz hurriedly asks Isis to apologize to Elma, so Isis says he'll leave Elma in her care, surprising him. The next day, Elma and Luz decide to leave the capital city, and he says he's surprised Isis showed his concern in any way and acknowledged her. Bro is desperate for some love. They arrive at Lac Arena and are surprised by how huge it is. In Lac Arena, high-level dungeons tend to appear around here often, and because of that, many adventurers come here in hopes of gaining fame. They decide to go to the dungeon, and Elma helps Luz form her build before saying they'll need to get the Shinigami's Assassin skill book. He says they should be able to gather a couple 100 million, shocking Luz, who weakly says her legs are shaking. After gathering some info at the Adventurers Guild, Elma and Luz decided to visit a dungeon that appeared in the woodland area near town. At the entrance to the dungeon, Elma announces that they'll be aiming for black steel drops. Inside, Luz says they're still a bit under level, but Elma says it's fine since recommended levels are nothing more than benchmarks. He explains that the black steel the monsters here drop is famous among intermediate adventurers. Luz sees that he's really knowledgeable and asks if he couldn't just live a cozy life as a guild staff, but he says the life of an adventurer is way more fun for him. They notice the monster named Smile, so Elma swiftly blocks its attack and says they'll be fine as long as they keep their distance. Luz says she'll handle the back and asks if she just needs to carve away at its HP. Luz swiftly takes it out, after which Elma reaches level 43. He tells Luz she did a good job and says if they keep this up, clearing the dungeon should only take a matter of time.